Alright, we're going to get started in just a few minutes. Search for Ardalis. We're looking at the, which one is it? List startup services. Look at this, 17 people have downloaded it now. Sweet. Alright, so let me make sure got Visual Studio going here, and make sure we've got the latest from Git. What have I changed? Startup. Alright, what do I do there? That looks fine. I don't have it there. Alright, we'll just do a git pull and do a commit and make sure everything's good to go. I think I updated some things. Nope. Alright. Alright. Now we're all set. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to do, it doesn't really involve Visual Studio too much. Wednesday, I think, when I was last working on this, I wanted to add, where's my image not working? There we go. I wanted to add Azure Pipelines to this. So if I look at one of my other projects, like guard clauses, let's say, here, you'll see it's got this Azure Pipelines succeeded thing. So we're going to add that. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and grab some screenshots and make a quick blog post about what we're doing here. So it's my blog, and just go to my posts, and we have add Azure DevOps pipeline there. Alright, so I'm going to be in my other window taking some screenshots of what we're doing. Now there's an article I have used in the past that is helpful from Azure DevOps Labs. I'm going to grab that, and I will share that over here. So it's basically got most of the steps, but it has some extra stuff in it that I don't need. So I'm creating my own version. It's kind of my own checklist that I'm going to use going forward for this. Let's see. Cool. Alright, Commander Root and Inken Shetty, welcome. Alright, so in here, it's going to kind of walk us through what we need to create Azure Pipelines for a GitHub repo. And I've already done these steps for a few other projects I've got. It's a little tricky to find where you need to go to start, is the thing. So the easiest way to do it is what it's going to show us right here. We're going to say go to Git and go to the GitHub Marketplace and search for pipelines. So this is the project I actually want to add it to, this project, ASP.NET Core Startup Services. So I'm going to click on Pipelines. We'll just open that in a new window and come into this marketplace. We'll take a screenshot of that just so I've got it for later. And draw a little line here. That one. Alright. That's that. Alright, so now we're in Marketplace. We're going to come down here. We're going to search for pipelines. Search. There we go. Print screen. Do this. Alright, so then we'll just draw a little box around this and make that green because it's happy. and then draw another arrow and say we want that. Yep, there we go. Perfect. Alright, so now we go into Azure Pipelines. My Azure Pipelines, I have existing stuff. I think I want to configure access. I think that's my next step. So here, take a moment, benefits, blah, 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 install it. I already did all this, set it up. And here, all repositories are select repositories. So I have select repositories set. And so then I'm going to need to configure it to add this new ASP.NET Core startup services to it. This seems like it's going really slowly, but when you actually know all the things, it's pretty quick. So configure access, configure Azure Pipelines, confirm my password, and down here it's going to say select repositories, and I'm going to say the one I want, which is this ASP.NET Core startup services. So that went really fast, and I didn't take any screenshots, so I'm going to add one now. Unfortunately, it's so long, it's hard to get it all on one screen, but we'll just, yeah, I guess we'll just do it down here. So screenshotify, repository access, select repository, boom. Alright, and that one's the one I want to do. Alright, keep that for later, pick that one, save. And now we're pretty much there, right? I just have to tell it to use the right account and tell it which thing, and then create a new project. So create a new project called ASP.NET Core Startup Services. Print screen on this. Okay. That is a new project. That can be green. And the outline can be green. There we go. And that's good to go. And we'll continue. Alright, so now it's creating our Azure DevOps project. This part takes a second. And it will actually create a YAML file for us that's going to do this build. So we have to tell it, select your repository. It should be the one that we want it to actually use. So here's our whole thing. ASP.NET Core Startup Services is right there. So that's fine. And I'll pick it. And then next it wants to do, what do you want your build to be? Well, this is an ASP.NET Core thing. So I'm going to choose that, which is going to be ASP.NET Core. You can pick either one of these, but I want it to be core targeting .NET Core. Alright. Let's just do that and that and that. Alright. Good enough. So we'll click that. It's going to create this YAML file. This YAML file might be something we want to change eventually, but for now its default is fine. So I don't have to change anything about this. Save and run. So saving will commit to my repository. So let's do that. Commit directly to the master branch, save and run. And while that's doing its thing, we can come out here and hit refresh. I'm not sure we need to do refresh. It'll probably do it automatically if we wait for it. But let's hit refresh. Bing. Okay, Azure Pipelines.yaml. Azure Pipelines bot, set up CI with Azure Pipelines. So it has created this for us, and it's now in my repository. That looks familiar, right? Alright, so let's back out to there. Let's go back to our pipeline here, and it is running. Initialize the agent, got the source, running .NET build. Let's see if this works. Seems to be running 2.1. Hopefully it'll be good. I'm pretty sure mine's on 2.2, but it shouldn't matter. Right, while this is running, let's look at our next steps we're going to need. pretty much, all right, there's our organization and project, did that. Pick repository, did that. He's doing node, there's our pipeline, did that. Commit it. I didn't take a screenshot of that, but okay. Here it's running. That's great. There's our thing. I should probably show that. So print screen. Here's this. And we can see here that we have this in green. And we have this in green. That's perfect. Okay. So, any questions for anybody so far? I know it's very exciting. It's still running, but look, it's almost all done. Post job done, succeeded, job is done. So if I look at builds, this build has completed. Hooray. Okay, so then the last step, we can go over here and see, they're going to show it to us. We can kick off new changes by committing changes, and we should see the build run again. I'm not too worried about that, I know that works. But I want to add the, alright, he's going to talk about pull requests, I don't care about that. This part is nice, there's a check on this. I think that's, did he have to add that check? I think that's done for us automatically. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to show you that that's done automatically. So the check will ensure that we don't commit or merge in a pull request that's broken, because this check is going to run. But the last thing that I want to show is this build status badge. So basically you just have to come into the build. Which page is it on? Is it the project or the builds? Click the build pipeline. Yeah. So in here, I'm in the build pipeline, and that gives me these dots here, which has the status badge. Right. So we'll screenshot. Let's see if I can screenshot this. There we go. So here's my whole screen, which we'll just grab that whole screen, and then I can go image and cut out the bottom bits like this, so I don't need all that. Keep that project settings down there at the bottom. Alright, so now that's a little smaller, and we will point at the thing we want, which is the badge link. Look at that. Okay, and we are on basically the pipelines. So I should also draw that over here and say, look, we are here in green. I wish there was a green one to start, but there's not. Alright, so save that for later. Hello, cog whistle. Now back to what we're doing. We're going to come in here and hit the status badge, grab this, and it's going to show me what I want it to be. We're just going to copy this bottom one here. So I don't need to modify that image. I do want to copy that and come back to here, and we can just edit my master directly and place this right here. So one more screenshot of that. Make that green. Okay. Use that in my blog later. Adding Azure build status badge. Commit. And there you go. So there's the build status. Alright. Now because I just changed master, we should expect a build to kick off. How quickly does that happen? Well, you can see it's already found that build took place, or the change occurred. So it's kicking off a build. And it's right here, and it shows adding Azure status badge. Does the badge show that it's building, I wonder? No, it just shows the status was successful last. But if I broke it, it would, when it's finished, it'll show that it's broken. So this takes, we already saw how long, about 2 minutes or something like that. So what did the last one say it took? 1 minute 42 seconds. So in another minute and a half or whatever, this thing will build again. It should still be good, and it'll show that build 2019-0201.2 was successful. All right, so that was pretty much the first thing I wanted to do today, which was wrapping up the last thing I needed to do for this list startup services thing, and set it up. So the next step that we needed to do for this, now that we've got a build, we could add some tests. We can also fix it so that it's not this awful thing that it is right now, that literally it's the only thing that it serves is this thing when it's activated. I want to give it a URL path. So if we look at issues, we'll see add parameter for a path. I would like for it to work something like this. We'll make this a little bigger, because I know it's hard to see sometimes on the stream. Use show all services middleware list services. All right, now I've been going for like 15 minutes. I never said, hey, can you guys hear me? So I really hope you can hear me, because that would be embarrassing. Somebody's going to tell me on the chat, yes, we hear you. No? You guys are all just sitting there eating your lunch and watching and not chatting. Okay. So we're going to try and do this next, and maybe we'll write some tests along the way. We'll see. And I also want to show that I can just pull this thing into any arbitrary project and show how that works. So let's do those things. First, let's take the existing functionality and show what happens when I add it to a new web project. So we'll throw up another Visual Studio. And we'll say, give me a new ASP.NET Core app. ASP.NET Core app, number 12 is fine. And now that this thing's had time to publish, where we left off the last time I was streaming, it wasn't actually showing up yet in the Razor library. Pick, doesn't matter, that's fine. We'll create a new Razor Pages app, ASP.NET Core 2.2. And it's in GitHub, or it's in NuGet now, so I can just go in here and say manage NuGet packages, wherever that is here. And I should be able to go browse the internets for Ardalis. And in this case, I'm package source NuGet.org. I also showed on the last stream how you can switch to a local package source. So if you want to be able to test out your package before you submit it to NuGet, that's what you would do to add it. Just throw it into your local. All right, so we're looking for list startup services here. We're going to install this on a new thing. And this is just going to give us a package reference. It's not going to actually do anything until we wire it up in startup. So it's doing its restore thing. It's going to take a minute to build. And it's still building. Maybe it's not going to build. Maybe it's just going to restore. Do I have to tell it to build? I'll tell it to build. Build is done. All right, cool. So now we're going to startup, and here's all the things that it gives us out of the box. And we'll say, like, if it's development, we will not just use developer exception page, but also use whatever I called this thing. So let's go back to my beautiful documentation on this, and I say usage is first add that. And then add that. So let's go here. At the bottom of this, we add that. And service config is my type that I need to add a namespace for. And it pops right up because I've got the NuGet package. So this is going so much more smoothly than my last stream. And now I just jinxed myself. And now we want this wherever we want it to happen, which I think should be in here. All right, so like I said, this, if I run in development, it's going to just blow up for every URL and show me those services. So let's verify that. We're going to run it. And so here's my app, and there's my services, right? And it doesn't matter where I go. I can go to like /home/index. Boom. I'm in development mode, so you're done. Now, if I want to verify that that's only happening in development mode, I can go over here to properties, launch settings, and change this. I'm running an IIS Express right now, so I could say this is now production, save that, stop IIS, which I'm doing over here on the other screen. Yes. Run this again, and we should see the default template, and there's the default template now. Okay, so everything works here just fine. Now, if I wanted to keep it strictly the way it is right now, it's not the most useful thing right now. I could come in here and say something like, if environment name double equal, list services, then use this thing. And this is basically how you would use this today if you wanted to be able to test it out. Is you'd have to switch the environment and then go into launch settings and do something like, well, let's add another type of thing called name project list services, and we'll put in here list services, and as soon as we save that, it shows up here theoretically, unless I screwed up my curly brackets, which I did. Just one extra one, maybe, hopefully. Save that. Oh, it's still not happy. Alright, manually count the things. Alright, profiles, that was in the wrong place. That goes there. And now I need that. That should be better. Alright, this needs to be a unique name. Put this in the wrong spot, sorry. Put that there and put that here. Now we're in good shape. Alright, look, there it is. Okay, so rebuild this and just double check that I called that list services with no space. Called that list services with no space. Those match. So I can come in here and I can say do it with list services and run it. And it'll run somewhere. There it's running. And there it is. Running on port 5001. Alright. Cool. Any questions? Alright. So that's all good. That works. We just added it to a new project. Let's go back to our real source that we're working on this thing in. We have, here is our NuGet package. Here's our middleware. And this is our test app that we're shipping with that NuGet package. Last time I streamed, I changed its dependency, I think. And I made it use the NuGet package. And I don't really want it to do that. For testing purposes, I want to just have a direct reference. It'll be faster. So we're going to get rid of... no, I don't want to get rid of that. Project reference, that's good. CS project, I want to get rid of that. Alright, so this should still work. And builds and run it. Alright, and this works. This is now running against my new app, not my other app, even though it's on the same port. I killed the other one. Incoming raid from C# Fritz. Thanks, Jeff. Cool. Alright, so there's about to be a gazillion people on here, probably. Alright, so we are inside of here. And we are going to modify our middleware here so that it's only going to work on an incoming parameterized path that we want to set. Now we have a service config object. Let's see, let's look at this. This service config has a list of services. We can also put a path on this, or a route. So we can say public string, let's see, let's just call it path. And we'll give it a default right on here of, let's call it list all services. Alright, and so here comes the raid. Woo! I love raids. Alright, welcome everybody. So we're going to have this be our default that we're going to listen on off of this service config, and then someone can reset that from wherever they're consuming this thing to show. Alright, so now in our middleware I've got a reference to this config here under service config. And so instead of doing all this work and returning the thing, I can just check and see if the path is matching that path. So I can say if hpcontext dot request dot path equals config dot path, then we'll do all this fun stuff. Otherwise we won't do anything, right? And it'll just pass through. All right. Let's see what are the odds that that's going to work on the first try. Everything builds, and we'll run it. And we're running this project here, and we come into our main page here, and it shouldn't now show all the services. So we refresh, it shows whatever it's doing on its default page, which honestly is not a whole lot. We should probably put something there so you have something to see. Let's do down here, we'll do app.use welcome page. There's almost never a good reason to use this welcome page, but we'll go for it from here. And so if we do that and rebuild, we should see a welcome page. If we restart the site, boom, refresh this. All right, all y'all that just showed up, here's what we're doing. I have a package here that will list all the startup services, all the services that are in ASP.NET Core, right? It'll tell you what their type is, what their lifetime is, and if there's an instance, it'll show you the instance that's currently registered inside of the collection. Initially, this was just some helper that you could copy-paste the code for, but I've been turning it into a NuGet package this week. So on Wednesday, we turned it into a separate piece of middleware, and we wrapped that up into a NuGet package, and we submitted it to NuGet.org, and it's out there now, right? So you can find it here. This is the 1.0 version that was updated 2 days ago. And you can add this to a project, and I showed that a few minutes ago on the stream. The other thing we did so far today is we added a build pipeline for it. So there's now this Azure build status badge for this thing. So in here you can see the build succeeded with an Azure pipeline build. And that took, you know, what I probably spent 10 minutes on it, but that's because I was taking screenshots as I went. If you just did it, it would take less than 5 minutes. All right, and you would have a build running for your application in Azure, and it's totally free as long as it's open source. Okay, so then the next thing is that the initial version, the version that's out here, basically just does this list of services whenever that middleware gets hit. Okay, so it's not terribly convenient to set up. You have to like put in an if statement inside your startup in order for it to work, and you end up with something like this, where you would have to say, okay, if I'm in a certain environment, then use this middleware, otherwise do all the other stuff, right? And I don't really want that. What I'd rather have is some path that this thing lives on, and then I'll just run it when I'm in development mode. I could go to that path and it should work. All right, so now you're caught up. So where we are now is we went into here and we said, let's put that path inside this config file that I'm already using. And then let's go into my middleware and let's say that that path has to match the requested path in order for it to work. And then theoretically that's going to work. So the moment of truth here, we haven't tested this yet, is that if I go there in this application, which is this guy, right? It should still be running. This was going to show the welcome page, but I don't think that ever actually worked. But let's see if this part works. All right, so we're going to say slash that. Oh, look at that. It worked on the first time. When does that ever happen? Okay, so now that's cool. That's the hard-coded one. But the other thing is I could, you know, I don't want to use the one that everybody uses, that some hacker could guess and see information that they shouldn't see. This, of course, should never go to production because I'm only going to do it in development environment. But all the same, I want this to be some tricky name that nobody else knows and not the default that Steve Smith shipped in his package. So I can go to my startup and modify it here, except I can't yet because I haven't wired that up. So let's see, how can we take a parameter in here and have that affect the config? So in this return builder, I want to have that take in our string path, right? And that should be optional, like that. All right, and we're going to return builder.use middleware, and we're going to say something like if path not string.is null or empty path, update the path. Now that thing is in this config here, is specified inside of my services container here. So I just need to fetch it out of there and modify it. It's basically configured as a singleton. I don't remember how to do that. I have to think on that. I might have to do some Googling here on the side. So I think I need in here. Well, let's see. I know I wrote the docs for middleware, and I had an example that shows how to do this, so let's just do that. Docs.asp.net. I'll bring this actually over here where you all can see it. And this is me actually searching the docs for my own stuff, which I do all the time, because I don't remember anything. So we're going to middleware, and at some point I wrote an article on this there, and we said, hey, in middleware, how do you pass in stuff? Write middleware. Okay. Alright, so there's doing it there. There's doing it there. This one doesn't take anything interesting. Neither does that. Neither does that. Dependency. I can pass in a service. That's great. And that's it. Okay, where's the rest of it? Alright, then if that's not going to have it, let's go look at my middleware sample that I wrote for MSDN. So github.com, Ardalis, repositories, and I have a sample in here, middleware, this one, and I think this has what I'm looking for. So in here, we're going to use this. This is Octotree, by the way, if you're not familiar with it. All right, let's see what else people are doing. Rambling Geek has to leave, sorry. And Maybook, changing the path is the last piece of similar feature I'm writing that provides environment for similar information in a similar way. Okay, cool. So you know exactly what I need to do, and you're going to help me out and tell me how to do it, right? All right, we'll see. We'll see what he says. Okay, so in here, I've got my middleware. I got a few different kinds of middleware, and at least one of these, I'm pretty sure, took in a string parameter. Let's see, which one of these? Not found middleware. This thing took in a connection string as a parameter, and what did it do with it? Well, and that's adding it to services. That's not what I want. I want to add the middleware there. This is that one, and it's not doing it that way. You know what? Maybe I'm thinking about this wrong. Maybe instead of setting the path in configure, maybe I set the path in configure services. Maybe that's easier, because I could pass something in there. Let me think about that. Let's see what that would look like. Alright, so the Hugo Dahl says, for security, would it be possible to add a config element to restrict access to only localhost or some? Yeah, I mean, I could do whatever I want with that config element. I'm shipping this to the public, and this is how I'm doing it now. But I could make this, you know, not have a setter and force this to be localhost or something like that. It just wouldn't be as flexible then for people to use. As it stands right now, I could ship this and it would just listen always to here. But I think if I come in here, when I configure this service config, I could do it right here and say config.path. That's what I want. Equals, you know, slash fancy Twitch services path, like that. Boom. And I think that will do the trick because it's settable. And instead of having to set it in here, I'll just set it up here since I'm already messing with services anyway. So now if I copy that fancy path, because you know we're on Twitch, and then we switch back to port 5001. That's the wrong browser instance. Here we go. This port 5001, this one no longer works because I've overridden it, but the fancy Twitch services path does. Okay, so I think that's probably good enough to ship. What do you guys think? What else do I need? Let's see. Still to do for me, last thing before I make it a Razor UI package. Okay, cool. Well, somebody tell me why my way I just did this is stupid. Otherwise, I'm going to ship it. So we're going to go into PowerShell and nobody. You think it's all right? All right. So we're going to say git add dot, and git commit -m added services path to config file. There's that. Alright, now we're going to deploy this thing to NuGet, and to do that I have a handy thing here called NuGet.text that tells me all the things I need to do, because I never can remember all the things, and I also have a checklist out here. Right, so we're going to go here, let's push our change, and that'll trigger a build on Azure Pipeline, maybe. Alright, go fetch, git pull, git push. Now it's happy. Now my Azure Pipeline should build. Let's see. What's it doing? Think about it. Think about it. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Alright, so now it's picking that up. Great. Wouldn't defining a route be better? In what way? Like, it would be less simple. You're talking about an actual strongly typed route, vblane, as opposed to just my string path. Remember that this is not an MVC thing. This is not a filter, right? So it doesn't know anything about routes. This will work even if I don't have routing installed. And so it's working at the lower level of middleware, and middleware works with request response HTTP. Does not work with routes and the whole request pipeline that MVC gives you. Yeah, okay, cool, no problem. Right, so, where's my next steps? I need my checklist. It's in the browser. It's right there. So we're going to do those things. I need to go to my source folder. I need to go to my folder there. And do .NET build-c release. Seems like it's working. And I don't always have to do the publish steps. Usually I just do the pack step. But, well, first time I was doing this one the other day, it wouldn't work unless I did all these things. So we'll do all these things, even if they're not necessarily strictly required. And then the one that really matters is this one. Don't want that space. Version equal, and this is good for a 1. Oh, we'll make it a whole 1.1.0 because that's like a major feature that we just added. Let's do that, but I'm missing a step, aren't I? I need to make sure that I put that version into, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to update the CS proj. So what I didn't follow by not opening up this link is the rest of my checklist. Let's go through this. All right. Do the thing, build the thing, update the CS proj file. That's the step I need to do right now. So come in here. My CS proj is this one. We're going to say edit. And we're going to say it's all the same things. All the same things. And then we're going to say this is a 1.1.0. And somewhere there's a version package release notes. There it is. So added ability to specify path to respond on. It's not the best grammar, but good enough. Alright, so save that, build that. Now we're 1.1.0, perfect. Alright, so back to here, we're going to up arrow and redo a few steps. So we'll do the .NET build release. .NET publish release. Go over back here. .NET pack. Like that. And that works. Now we're going to change directory to bin/release. And we should see both our nupkig files here. There's our new one. Now we're going to go do a .NET NuGet push -s -k. I need my key file. So in here, this says, hey, go out to NuGet.org and get your key file. So I'm going to sneakily do that over here in the other window. And sign in. And then click the link that says API keys and get my API key. Copy it. Come back over here. Key and then the NuGet package I want. Right? So there's that. I'll just slide this over here and paste my key. And then Ardalis.list 1.01 on OK. Enter. Cool. Alright, so my package was pushed. So now if I go out to NuGet.org and I look at this thing, it's going to say right there it's 1.10. It's still validating, so you can't get it yet. But real soon it'll be there and you can play with it. Alright, so I should probably add some tests and do some other things, but that's looking pretty good. The other thing I need to remember to do is this tag bit that I always forget. So let's clear out that and bring this back over here. I should commit that last little bit that I did to the project file. So update version and project file. It's up to date with that. Changes not staged. Why did it give me that? Sorry. It's okay to paste links in here. I have an example. Sure, go for it. Should be. Nobody's been trolling with them yet, so I haven't. I don't have a bot or anything that's managing things. So just, you know, be nice. All right. So why did that not commit? Git add dot git commit. Your branch is up to date. Changes not staged for commit. I don't know why that did that. All right. Let's try git pull. We're up to date. Git add dot git status. Changes not staged. CS pro. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. There we go. Now git add dot. That'll work. Thank you. That. There we go. Sure. Push that. Okay. Now we're up to date. All right. So SMAB security demo 1. You're in the release folder. Thank you. No, that was not me. That was totally me that was screwing that up. All right. So now everything's good to go. We're going to add our tag. So git tag -a. And I can't remember all this stuff. That's why I have these files that help me. Version 1.1.0 -m. Published 1.1.0 to NuGet.org. Boom. All right. So that tag is only locally, or only local. And then we do follow tags, and now that tag should be there out on GitHub. And if you're following along at home, you can come into GitHub, go to ASP.NET Core Startup Services, and under Releases, we should see 2 tags. Go away. So there's our 1.10 tag. You can grab a zip file of it if you want. Also under Code, some people don't know this, but under branch, it actually hides tags here as well. So you can come under branch and click on tags, and you can see the 2 versions here. And look at that, I'm being super consistent about whether or not to put a V in front of it. Oops. Oh well, at least going forward I'll be consistent, because whatever is in this NuGet.txt file, that's probably what I'm going to do from here on out. And that one said that. So, all right. That actually went really smoothly. It's only been 42 minutes or whatever, and what have we done? We've set up a continuous integration build. Then we tested that the thing was working with another web app, which it was. Then we decided we needed to add a feature. Now what I probably should have done is created a pull request with that thing, and then told it that it fixed this issue. But I was going too fast, and I just committed the thing. So if I look at my commits, and I see that right around here I merged in the thing, I guess it was this one. So I can take that commit and copy it, just so I can come into this issue and say that we fixed this. Fixed by, and then paste that commit in and comment and it'll convert that into one of these guys, which is nice, and we can close this issue. All right, so now I have 0 pull requests, 0 issues, code is done. There's a 1.1 version of this thing out there. I don't need that anymore. I don't need that anymore. This should be validated soon. There it is, listed. What? None of you have downloaded it? What are you guys doing? You should all be able to grab this now and follow the instructions on this README here that basically say install a thing, add this to the bottom of your startup, and then add this. And I should probably modify this to say, hey, you can specify a path. So let's do that, and then we'll say we're actually done. So in here, we'll say this, configure services, that, okay, and then optional default path to view services is /list services, I think. Just double check that. List all services. Alright, and then from our startup page here, we would say that. And this goes here. We'll add another space there to make that clear. And this is my list all services path there. That should be self-explanatory enough, right? And then the other thing to do is say that this thing only runs in dev environment, and we'll show that looking the way it should. So let's go grab the example from here, and we'll just steal that bit right there and put that in here, put that in there. That's good, except I'm not taking in my hosting environment like that. Alright, I might see if I can switch my approach to this instead of Razor UI, simpler to configure for the end user. Okay. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at what you're trying to do, Maybook, but I will definitely look at that when I have a chance. Alright, so I want this to be how people do this for real. So we're going to copy that out and into my code here. Like that. Alright, so now we're showing more of a best practices way of doing it. That sounds good. Alright, so to get out of this here, updated with latest instructions. Set things up. And commit. Alright. Now, that should be good. And here's what it should show you. Great. Any questions? Any requests for what to look at next? I've got another hour or so to stream here, and I got through this a little quicker than I was expecting. The next thing I was thinking I might do is maybe write some tests, but because I like tests, and tests will automatically run inside this build pipeline, so it would kind of show us that that's happening. But there's really not a lot to test here, so you know there's a small challenge there. There's a few of you in the stream now, so I was hoping maybe some of you would have some requests that you want to make. Anybody? No? You just want to keep watching whatever I'm doing? Alright, well let's look at this real quick and see if there's any tests that would actually make sense or be helpful. And if any of you want to actually grab this thing and run it on one of your projects and just let me know if it works for you, that would be awesome. This is like, you know, real-time chance to to see that working. Let's see, I'm going to run this one more time since I modified it here to say if in development. This was, let's just make sure that this is actually running in development, and maybe not. No, it's running in production. So this right here is running in production. So with that thing wrapped, what I expect to see is that it shouldn't actually run. Ooh, I could write some actual web tests for this that verify this. That would be cool. Maybe I'll do that. All right. So back here, if I hit localhost 5001 and whatever path I was using in there, which was that, which apparently we committed into source control. I should probably change that to something else. Let's call that my list services. That'll be good enough. All right, so build that, rerun it. Again, it's in production, so it shouldn't actually work. So we come here, localhost 5001/my list services, and nope, that don't work. All right, perfect. That's what I wanted. If I come back in here and we switch it to, let's create another one of those called dev. Right, so let's see if we can do it right this time. We're going to grab that bit, paste it there, call that dev, give it this thing right there, and while we're at it, let's do launch browser true, because that's handy. Alright, so now if I run that guy instead, let me close the other one, run it, and this pops up. You see it's running now in development, and so my list services, I called it, maybe, and it works. Cool. Okay, so that verifies that that works. Let's go ahead and commit that. Good with that. All right. So now if we want to add some tests, what's that going to look like? First of all, I want to organize this a little differently. I want to have this have a solution folder called source. And we'll take our source files and we'll throw them into that. And then we'll create another solution folder called tests. And then in there we'll add a test. Will be an XUnit project. Oh, and I'm using Visual Studio 2019 preview, by the way, in case you guys didn't notice that. So some of these things are a little different looking, like the add new project dialog is totally redone. But here's my XUnit test project over here. And I guess I can't give it a name here, so we'll say next, and now it's going to ask for a name. And I see a few more questions in here. Could you restrict prod to be viewed from only specific range of IP? Sure, I could do that. I'm not exposing that capability now to the end user, but if you wanted to fork the project and make it have that functionality, that wouldn't be hard. Typical, the site I chose to try it on is still on 2.1. There's no reason why this shouldn't work on 2.1 except that I'm a jerk and I didn't set it up well to do that. So that's good feedback. If it's not working on 2.1, then I should modify this to backport it so it works on 2.1. Let me get to that after I try and set up this test project. So let's call this Ardalis list startup services we'll just call it tests for now, and we'll figure out what kind of test to put in there later. Ooh, and I didn't want that location. Dang it. Let's do that again. So delete that. Visual Studio, you're being stupid. Why on earth would I want to put this in a totally different place than all the rest of the things in this solution? That, next, give it the same name, Dallas dot startup services dot test. Is that what I called it? All right, location. I don't think I put it there, did I? Let me go check my file explorer for just a second. So if I go and I check out, see users Steve00, whatever. Maybe it is putting it in the right place. Maybe it's me. I usually put stuff into a cdev GitHub folder, but maybe I put it here. So /source repos ASP.NET Core. Yeah, I did do that. All right, that's on me. All right, I'm gonna create a new folder while I'm in here though, called test, and I want this to go into that test folder, and we'll say create. And I'll delete the other one. Alright, so now, there, it's in the right place. Alright. Lol, I just heard a Windows notification notice from your stream. Sorry, yeah, that was me. I don't have to stream Windows sounds. Maybe I should turn that off. Alright, so in here we've got a test now. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk about the fact that this doesn't seem to work on 2.1. Now I have, as it turns out, a sample app here that we were running. And we can edit this. And we can say it runs on 2.1. And it's using, let's say, 2.1. And we'll rebuild it. Okay. And list startup services is not compatible with NetCore App 2.1. Package supports NetCore App 2.2. Alright. And then detect a package downgrade. And what about this one? The version of ASP.NET Core is only... How do you know what version I'm using? I didn't specify a version here. Let's just tell it to use version 2.1 and see if that one goes away. So I'm expecting the version problem with my package because he told me that. Right. Yeah, you can move your project forward, but you shouldn't have to, right? There's nothing in this code that won't work all the way back to 1.0. And so as a NuGet package author, it's on me to make that package be consumable by anybody that wants to use it. Right? So this is stored using that, but with current versions 2.1, that's fine. Make sure the same settings are used. That's all good. Okay. So I want this thing to be able to work with my project, and I'm going to have to do another publish to make that happen. I think. So basically I need to go over to here, and it's this that's the problem, is that I made this thing NetCore App 2.0. I can make this NetCore App probably 1.0 and it'll probably still work. So let's find out. I'd like to make it target net standard, but I don't think that's going to work. Okay, version of ASP.NET Core is only compatible, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's going to require me to specify a version here, 1.0.0, right? Now it's possible something has changed since 1.0 that's going to break me, but if it hasn't, then this should work. Alright, so package app 2.1 is not compatible with that NetCore App 1.0. Well, I didn't tell it to use that. Let's do a clean on this just to make sure it's not trying to grab anything it shouldn't. Microsoft package ASP.NET Core.app. It may not be like they changed the name to app pretty late in the game. Before it was something else. ASP.NET Core. Just do ASP.NET Core. Like I don't remember what I need. And then let's do. They added a bunch of stuff in 1.1. Nobody should be on totally 1.0. So let's try this. All right. Ensure the restore has run. All right, let's go over here. No. Let's go over. Where's my PowerShell? There it is. All right. Let's do a .NET restore. Restore completed. Okay. And we'll build it. And that works. Okay. Well, that's cool. So why is Visual Studio giving me a hard time? Huh, yeah. So sometimes you just have to use the command line tools to get Visual Studio to sort things out. I've had that happen so many times. Okay, so theoretically, I just did this for Netcore app 1.1. So if we do our NuGet publication dance again, this is really just a 0.1 thing, and this will be changed package to target Netcore 1.1, like that, and then we'll go and build this one more time. Alright, and that still works. And then I want to go follow my checklist because I can't remember stuff. So we'll go here, and then we'll do those things. And it's going to be, I don't think I need to do all this publishing. Let's start with the pack. .NET pack-c release /p : version equals 1.1.1. That makes me happy. It's all ones. Alright, and it's going to work. It's not going to work. What? Fine. Alright, we'll go through all the steps. .NET. I swear I didn't used to have to do this. -c release. Do that. .NET. Like, it's supposed to do these steps for you if it needs to. Publish -c release. Boom. Okay. Now do .NET Pack 1.1.1. Boom. See, it works. Alright, now go to bin. Oh, this might be part of why it's not working. I wasn't in the path I thought I was in. Alright, so let's see if it's actually there. I might have to redo the steps. CD. Oh, good, it put it there. So if we're looking for that 1.1.1, it's there. So from here, I can do the push. Find my key file again, which is over here. Paste it in here. Find the right package, enter. It is now publishing, and it is now done. So clear that out so you don't steal my key. Right, now that it's published, as soon as that comes and shows 1.1.1's available, SMAbook, you should be able to grab that, and it should work. Alright, meanwhile, I'm going to CD up a few. We're in the root, and we're going to do git add dot, commit-m, changed target framework to 1.1, push, good to go. Alright, now we're going to tag it. Tag -av 1.1.1 -m published 1.1.1 to NuGet.org. Okay, and git push -- follow tags. There should be now a new release on GitHub. So we come out to GitHub and go to the root, and there's 3 releases, and there's 1.1.1. And meanwhile, we go out to NuGet.org and we refresh, and there's 1.1.1, and it's validating. But it didn't capture the fact that you downloaded it, apparently. We'll let that do its thing for a moment, and I will come back and test my thing here. This is list startup services. I'm going to tell it it wants version 1.1.1 and build. And it's going to say 1.0 is not compatible. I'm not asking you about that, am I? I'm asking you about 1.1.1. Alright, so we'll clean it, build it again. Maybe it's automatically downgrading. Unable to find a package with a version of 1. Right, that's because it's still validating. So as soon as this is done validating, we'll be able to run that test. And I think it'll work at that point. Okay, so then, no other questions in the chat. Cool. let's go back to adding that test. So I was going to go add a test in here, right? And we have this unit test. Now we're going to say we have two things we could test. We could test our middleware directly. Is there anything here that's interesting? Well, this should go away. That doesn't need to be there. So it's unrelated to testing. That's just some junk I accidentally left behind. So let's get it out of there. All right, we'll push that later. Okay, so in here, is there anything that we would test? Well, we could say that we're only going to do, if this matches, then we will output our stuff to the response. Probably I could pull this stuff out into a service of some sort and do this check in that service, and then I could test that service with some kind of unit test on that service and then inject it into here. I don't know that that's super valuable to do when I really can also test this in a more of an integration test or a functional test. So we're going to do that, and I have some example functional tests in my clean architecture GitHub repo. So I'm going to jump to that real quick. So let's kill a few of these tabs we don't need at the moment, and I think I'm done with that. And I don't need that. We'll keep that around. Are we done validating yet? No. All right. So we're going to come in here and go to GitHub Ardalis / clean architecture. And I just want to grab a test. So we're going to come in here and look under tests, and there's some integration tests that hit the web, and they do stuff like, well, I'm going to need that. So I'm going to steal this thing. Mine's going to be a lot simpler. And then this homepage index should I'm going to need. So let's start with this. And I'm expecting in my test, which is going to hit startup services. So let's add that dependency. Add a reference to the web project. Should probably have a better name. Guess it's that one. I thought I renamed that to web or something previously, but okay. Alright, so now we're going to take our test and throw this in here. Home controller index. Well, there isn't really a home controller index, so let's just say root web application, and this is going to use that, which I don't have yet. Startup, I can pull in that, but this custom web application factory I still need to steal from here. So we'll grab this class, and mine's going to be a lot smaller, but we'll start with the whole thing, and we'll paste it in here. And I've got one too many class declarations. That goes away. Alright, so now I've got that, and I've got this, and I need a namespace. It's not what I wanted. Alright, no, that's fine. No, that's not what I wanted. Delete that. Alright, so it needs a reference to get to that. It's not finding it immediately, so let me see. In here, what else did I have? In that test project, I am pulling in the test host, this package reference, and probably that test SDK. So I'm going to steal those references as well, and edit this guy, make sure I've got those references. Test SDK it's got, I don't need that then. But that test host I need, I think that's what I was missing. So here, nope. Alright, what else did I need? MVC and MVC testing, sure, let's say we need those two. Alright, so in here, pull those in, and then this one, basically I'm just hitting Control dot to see if it'll let me grab the namespace. and it keeps not letting me do it. What do you need? Web Application Factory. Your Netcore app 2.2. You got all these references. Alright. Weird. It works in clean architecture. Not standard library. It shouldn't need that. Let's just grab all this stuff. No, that's definitely more than I need. Let's just grab this and get rid of this. And I don't know, see if that works. Hold everything in, great. iWebHost Builder, it's in there, good. Web Application oh wait, does that? Nope, there it is. Alright, so something I added fixed it. Alright, so now just continue with control dotting all the things to pull into namespaces. Except I don't really care about any of this. Configure. Oh no, I do care about this. Alright, so create a service provider. Don't need an add EF. We're not using EF. Build the service provider. Services dot do the thing. So here is where I'm going to add my stuff for how I want to test it. Right, so I'm going to do this work in there. So copy that and stick that in here. Right, and we'll call this something like my test services, because this will be for my tests. Alright, so then in here we're going to get rid of all this junk that I don't care about. I think, right? Good. That works. Alright, you got the latest version, Smayback? Alright, good. That's telling me that I can test it out too. So I come back here, new gallery, hit refresh. It's going to say it's listed. I go to my project where this was failing. Boom, unable to find, build. Still unable to find. Alright, do a .NET restore somehow. How do I do a restore? Manage. It's there. I don't want guard clauses. I want list startup services. Update. Update to 1. Why don't you see it? Okay, once again, Visual Studio is letting me down. Oh, you moved your project to 2.2. Well, that's cheating. I want to show that this works without doing that. Alright, so we're coming over here, and this is our web app. I'm going to do .NET Restore, and it should get 1.1.1. Unable to find Ardalis list startup services. Is it cached somewhere? Like, I'm looking at it right. Oh, it still says that. It says here it's listed though. Let's see if I can click on it. It's not been indexed yet. Okay, well, soon. It's listed, but it's not indexed. As soon as it's indexed, then that'll work. Alright, so let's go back to the testing stuff we're working on. Alright, so we have a custom web application factory that works with RT Startup. It's going to use my test services. We need a few more namespaces. Control dot. Bring them in. This is my root web application. This is my constructor. It's going to create that client, and I want that to show something. This use welcome page wasn't really working for us, so what is the thing? How do I write something out? Response dot. What was response dot write? Should be response dot write. Go ahead, app dot run. That's what it needs. Needs a namespace. Apparently, it's an extension method. We'll do that. All right. So I just want to display something, right? Something that isn't the services. So if we now run this, and it's listing on 5001, it should show that, and it's not. Interesting. I might have a problem in this middleware because it's maybe not calling. Oh, it's still short-circuiting middleware. Yeah, there's a bug in this. It's going to have problems. All right. Let's go to chat again. Okay, you did that. Let's go to my thing one more time and see if we get any updates. Nope. All right. All right, so it's good that we're testing this because this is low-level middleware that needs to call the next thing, and it's not. And so in my middleware here, Wednesday when I was working on this, I had this request delegate next, and I mentioned that I didn't need it, right? You can see it's grayed out, and so I kept deleting it, and then things wouldn't work. And so I had to add this comment that said, no, really, you need this, so don't delete it. It turns out that now that I want to be able to make it work only on certain paths, I really need it because we're going to call it. And we're going to, specifically, we're going to call it here. And we're going to say, await next. Await next? Is that all? That's not quite right. I have to assign that to something. Right, so we're going to assign this again with the control dot. That's what I do. That's not working now for some reason. Am I debugging? There it is. Create an initialized field next. Underscore rename. Get rid of this. All right, so now I can say that await next dot invoke. I think. Is that what I want? Why is that not working? There's no argument. Do I have to return it? All right, and so what's happening is when this middleware gets hit, it never calls the next piece of middleware. So in here, what's happening is when it hits this thing, it's done, right? It never even calls this one, much less this one. And that's why we haven't seen the welcome page. That's why we're not seeing this default content. Is because I wrote middleware that was terminating, and it does not call the next thing. It was more like finalware than middleware. It's like it will be the last thing that gets called. All right, so inside of custom middleware, I think I can go back to my ASP.NET Core article. Pretty sure it's going to have what I need for this. Write your own middleware, return next, where next is that thing. Okay. And there, request delegate next, await next. Oh, I got to pass the context. Got it. Await next. Perfect. That's what I needed. Is it called HTTP key content? Boom. All right, that's all that's necessary. So build that. Any questions coming in? No. Okay. Task could not be found. Yeah, I don't care about that right now. So we're going to comment that out for the moment. Come back to that in a minute. All right, that's good. So now let's test that our web project works. And on the home page, boom. All right, on the home page, we're getting this now. All right, that wasn't working before. So perfect. Now we can finish that test. So we go back to the test here, uncomment it. it should return default message. Right? That's what I called it, isn't it? Default content. Should return default content. Message equals that, status code equals that, string equals that, contains default content. Let's run the test. Let's pull in some more namespaces. Alright, let's pull this into its own file, move that type, and let's do the same with this one. No, that's not what I want. This is a feature I want Visual Studio to have, is rename the file to match the type name. It doesn't quite have it yet. ReSharper had it a while ago, and Visual Studio's got most of the things that I liked about ReSharper at this point, but not that one. Alright, so now we've got good file names. Can we run a test? It does not look like I could run a test. File not found, ASP.NET Core hosting abstractions. The system cannot find that. Why are you looking for that? Well, that's fine. We'll add a reference to that, I guess. When it actually runs. Okay. I thought the test host would have that in it. Maybe, why does the other one need it? I know I just ran into this the other day. Probably need to write a blog post about it so I can search for it. Let's look at this one more time. Could not load file or assembly. Okay. Let's clean and rebuild and try again. This most certainly will not work, but make sure it's not some goofiness. Give you the same error. Right. Yeah. Could not load file or assembly. That. Alright, we're going to take that and we're going to throw that into Google. Let's see where we're at on this. Hey, it's indexed. Cool. We'll try that in a second. Alright, try that, and it says issue. This is from 2018, and he says something or other about SignalR, duplicated of something else. Alright. And this one says, go away. Use stray config file that's causing it? No, I don't think so. Move the entire project and handle error exception. He's looking for a different file than I am. Anybody? Nope, nobody's helping me yet. Okay. Stack Overflow. Cannot load this only on Windows PC. Okay. Known issue. Fixed in 2.15. Check your core SDK. You're probably running into something. Update the project to ASP.NET Core All 2.13. Okay. From Nate. App 2.13. I'm on 2.22. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Where do I need to place the config lines to avoid it negating my own routes? It's not going to care about your routes, and if this middleware gets hit before your MVC stuff, it's going to use this, right? And it's going to overwrite whatever routes you have. So that's just that. There's nothing you can do about that. That's middleware for you. It's going to hit this middleware before it hits other things. Now, if you put this middleware later, then it'll hit the other things first, and then this one. But the problem is that MVC is terminating middleware. So if you put it after MVC, it's never going to hit it. So that's all I can tell you. All right, so let me verify my versions here. This one is not listing a version, so let's just make sure it's version equals 2.2.0, let's say, and see if that's going to work for us. Different versions of yada yada yada. Alright, so maybe that's my problem. So maybe once I fix that, we'll be in good shape. So let's go back down to, nope, that's the wrong one. Let's go back to here, and where's my solution? Alright, let's build this. See if I get the same errors, which I should. Okay, and now it's telling me that 2.2 is moving to 2.1.3, and my error over here was saying I want 2.1.3, wasn't it? No, it was fixed in 2.1.5. Perfect. So the fact that I'm on 2.1.3 is probably my problem. So where is it using 2.1.3? The tests maybe are hitting that. Alright, so how do I make sure those are on 2.1.5? Let's go back here. Let's go my test project. Startup services. Test project. Oh, there it is. Right. Okay. Course 2.0. 2.0. 2.0. That should do it. Package, that's 2.2. Where are you doing that now? So it hits this middleware and the name doesn't match. It doesn't pass up down the stack. It will, but only if you're on the new version. So that's what I just fixed in 1.1.1. So if you're not using 1.1.1, it won't hit any of your routes. Alright, so that worked. And so make sure that's what we were about to test. So let me table this testing issue that I'm running into and multitask further back into this guy. Build it. And it still can't find 1.1.1, but it really ought to be there. So refresh this. Really ought to be there. Browse. Ardalis, let's start up services. Give me that. You see it. Let's uninstall and reinstall. So uninstall that. Still telling me you can't find it. Okay. Here's my project, and it's not there at all now. Right. So we can build, and it's going to give me some errors. They can't find those things. That's expected. So we're going to go into NuGet packages, and we're going to say browse for startup services, install. 1.1.1 works. You say you have 1.1.1. So I'm thinking 1.1.1 is going to work. We'll see though. Compatibility version does not contain. Huh? I'm not doing anything with that. Where's that coming from? Did I downgrade this? I probably downgraded this. That's not what I want. Sorry. Here. I changed that to 2.2.1. That's what the issue is. Yeah, I don't care about the compatibility version, do I? We'll do that. Alright, so you should be good. Alright, now this is a full ASP.NET Core sample app. It's using Pages, but it doesn't matter. Same difference if it was using MVC. And we added the thing. We didn't actually add, no, I don't want program. We added it here, and we specified it here with just the default, and we specified it nowhere in here, apparently. Oh, how did that ever work? Must have pulled it back out. So in here, we're going to add it. So I'm going to go steal the code from over here, and we're going to say if we're in development. This is my test that's actually using the thing off of NuGet. And we're going to say show all services middleware, and we're going to configure it exactly the way I did here with my list services as my endpoint. So we can take this and paste it and build it and run it, and it should do exactly what it did before. In this case, it's using Razor pages. Build succeeded, run it. It's not running in development mode. I have to rerun it. See, the hosting environment is still list services, which I messed it around with. So let's go back here and switch us to this guy, Web Application 12. Let's verify what environment that is. Web Application 12 is development. So when we run that, it's going to say, yes, we are running in, boom, some problem. We're running into some problem. What is the issue here? Failed to authenticate HTTPS. I have no idea why that's suddenly a problem. It wasn't before. Maybe it's because of that? I don't know. You know what, it's acting an awful lot like my fix didn't go through somehow. That 1.1.1 package, yeah, you got a blank screen. Like, that looks an awful lot like what it did before I fixed it, doesn't it? With this stuff. So if that's that, then wait next. So it only does that there. This should work. And I'm showing it working in my test here. If I close. Alright, if I run this, I get default content, ran just fine, unless I go to that route. And that works fine. And if I do it on port 5000 without, that works fine. If I do it without the route, I get my default count. So all that works, but not when I published it to NuGet. So somehow I published the wrong thing to NuGet. I wonder if I can detect that in here. Where's my tags? My tagged release was this one. And in my tagged release, I did that and I did that. But I don't see the other stuff. Alright, let me look at my history. Somehow I screwed this up. So I must not have pushed the changes that made that fix. Alright, well, great. Let's get that done. All right. How much time do we have left? About half an hour. All right. I'd like to get this test working. I'd also like to get the thing out on NuGet working. I don't know I'm going to have time to get both of those done. I think it's more important that the thing actually work out on NuGet. So let's do that first, and then we'll get this test bit working because this is so close. Maybe I can get the test working. It's really close. I'd like the tests to run. I think updating the version was all we had to do, right? So it was a known bug in 2.1.3. Maybe? Yes, look at that. The test passed. All right, cool. Fine. We're going to go to 1.1.2, which is going to include this stuff. All right, so let's go that should return default content from the root application. That's fine. It's not the best test, but it's verifying that we at least got something. We didn't get that blank page, right? So that's going to fix the bug of, hey, we're just getting a blank screen. All right, so back to Git. Git status. Yada, yada, yada. That includes the middleware. Okay, which I thought was just the cleanup, but let's assume that it's got more than that. So let's pull any changes I did. Shouldn't be anything. Let's add everything. Let's do a commit -m. Adding test project. Fixing middleware so it isn't terminated. Because that was a problem. We'll push that. And no, it's git push, not bit push. Okay, cool. So now we're pushing that back out there, and we're going to grab and go through our little dance of steps again. So come out here, pull our NuGet text. You see, even when I follow these steps, I screw things up. I don't know what's going on here. All right, so from the folder with the CS_proj file, let's do .NET build-c release, .NET publish. I could probably just copy paste this. Release .NET pack-c release /p version equal. Oh shoot! You know what I forgot? Did it again. Let's go over here before I do all that. Go over here and do this guy 1.1.2 and changed middleware to be non-terminating. Maybe I just never published that. Maybe I did that after the version downgrade. I guess that's what must have happened. Okay, so 1.2 middleware is non-terminating. Perfect. Build that. You lagged about 30 seconds. All right. But you'll try when I publish. Well, it's going to take it 5 minutes or so to be indexed after I publish, but we'll get there as soon as we can. Okay. Now, we're going to up arrow and try a few things. We're going to build it. We're going to publish it. We're going to pack it with this line. And what are we on? 1.1.2 we said? Just versioning like crazy on this thing. Alright, so now it's all packed, and we can go to the bin and the release folder, and here's 1.1.2 is sitting there. Great. And we're going to copy this, paste that there, and then we're going to go over here and grab a key. And paste that over here. And get the correct version, 1.1.2. And it's going to push that out. And it says your package was pushed. Okay. And then we're going to do some more commits and tags and stuff. So cd back up to the root. And we'll do another git add dot. Git commit -m update project for NuGet, git push, git tag -a v1.1.2-m published 1.1.2 to NuGet.org. And then finally we're going to do a git push follow tags, which looks like this. Boom. Okay. So now out here, when we refresh, it's going to validate that. That took a few minutes, probably like 5 minutes. And then it had to be on the index, and then that would show up. So in my test project here, I need to tell it to use 112. So we'll go here and change that to that and build, and it will fail. Now those of you that weren't around on Wednesday when I showed how to use a local NuGet store, let me show you how that works. This is going to blow up and say restore failed, right? Well, I can go to my project here and open up a folder and go to its bin, release, and grab this Ardalis startup services. I'm going to take that. In fact, I can take all of them. Take all those. And I have a /local NuGet thing. Apparently it's not quite that though. Let's see. NuGet packages. There we go. That's what it is. So I can come in here. I can create a folder for it if I want, or I can just drop it in. Place. All right. So now it's in local NuGet, which means that it's going to search multiple places. So when I rebuild this, it's going to find it from local NuGet, which it just did. And you can tell it when we go and add and remove packages. Like here, 112 is apparently showing up. But if I come into local here, you see it's there, and it'll show me all the different versions that I have in local. All right, it doesn't show me anything else because I don't have any of my other stuff there. Right? There's a bunch of stuff that I've got in local that I've copied previously, but obviously it's not the entire content of NuGet.org. So if you want to just test something works without having to wait on NuGet.org, this local NuGet is a good solution. It's also a good solution if you're going to be offline for a while, but you still want to make sure all your packages work. Or if you're going to do a demo at a conference and you don't have internet, create a local NuGet and make sure you have it populated with every package you're going to need. And you can do that without having to rely on real NuGet.org. Okay, so now I've got that 112 version, so I can run this, and look at that. I actually get the thing working, right? So the root page worked. And what did we configure this with? We used my list services. We'll grab that. We'll come up here and try that. And it's supposed to work. What's it doing? Yeah, the local NuGet folder can be handy. Sometimes it can bite you too because you're grabbing stuff out of it instead of the real NuGet. All right, this gave me an error now. Status code cannot be set because the response has already started. Didn't I get this issue on the other day? Status code cannot be set. I had this problem earlier, but why is this working for me on my other test and not here? I think this was another thing that was a version related issue. Because it was like it worked fine in a previous version and then it didn't work in a later version. So something in like interesting. Static file middleware is blowing up. Status code cannot be set. Oh, right. I know what it is. Alright. One more bug. Okay, here's the deal. In our middleware, this is, I haven't written a ton of middleware recently, and that's why I keep running into these problems. If we do this, we want to be done, right? We don't want to do this at that point, right? We're finished. Because if we try and do the next thing in the middleware after we've already done this, it's going to give us that error. So the answer to this is that this just needs to be in an else block. We only want to do this other thing if we didn't do our thing. Okay, so that's fixed. I should write a test that verifies that it does the right thing, and I'll get to that eventually, or one of you fine people can send me a pull request with it. But that just fixed that problem, and I'm 100% certain that that's the fix, which means it probably won't be. So we'll go in here, we'll edit this to be 1.1.3, 113, and we'll say we fix the bug with pass-through of middleware. Bam. Alright, now we're at 113. Sorry everybody, dinging you with Windows. Okay, build. We go back to here, and we need to back out a couple times, I think. No, I'm already at the root. So I need to drill in a couple times to that, and then we need to do our little set of things, which I think I can actually just do this. Copy those and paste them, and it'll do them one by one. And we're up to 1.1.3, we said. 1.3, right? Short-term memory is horrible. Perfect. Boom. 113. Okay. Change directory to soar. No. To bin. To release. We should see 113. We do. Come over here. Take that. Paste it in. Grab our key. Paste it in clandestinely. Grab the right 113 nupkeg. It has now pushed. Do a commit from the root. Git add everything. Git commit dash n fixed bug. Pushing 1.1.3 to reget. Git push the G. And then tag it. Do that. Do that. And we have yet another release, and this one we think might work. On that note, we're going to go here. We're going to back out to where that thing is. We're going to go forward. I'm going and copying this to my NuGet packages folder. Paste it in. We're going to go to our other sample project. This is our sample. We're going to go here to our project. We're going to say it needs 1.1.3. I just copied it to local, so it's going to pull it from local even before NuGet updates so that we can test it. Are you building? What are you doing? Build vision. Okay, completed successfully. I'm watching down here in this blue thing. I'm so used to this saying build success that I'm not looking up here. It's throwing me off. Alright, run this. It is running. It is over here. And we get that. Just to confirm, our path that we want is my list services. So we're going to come in here, do that, and yay, it actually works. And now that we fixed that problem, everything else actually works, right? So we can go around our app and all that good stuff. All right. So finally, after several faulty releases, this thing should work, and it has exactly one test running, which is better than 0, right? And we ran into some errors. Some of them were our fault. Some of them were versioning issues with dependencies, but we got through all of them. I don't have anything else to commit. If we look at our code here, none of the changes I made impact how you get started. This is all the same, so that should be good. NuGet gallery 113 should be the most recent, and it's there, still validating. It's only been 3 minutes, so you should be able to run this yourself here very soon. Smavok, you should have that. If history is any guide here, it should be about 10 minutes total before it's both validated and indexed. Estimate published, validated, right? All right, so that's about all I have time for today. Thank you everybody for coming. Please hit the follow or subscribe button. I appreciate it. That's my reminder that was way too loud. Sorry about that. Telling me about my next call that I have. Cool. So find me online as Ardalis. Follow me here as Ardalis. And I will be back, if not sooner, next Friday from 12 to 2 Eastern. All right. Any last questions before I sign off? Works here with 112. Okay, cool. It'll work better with 113. So grab 113 when you have a chance. All right. Have a good weekend. I'll see y'all later. Okay, yeah, I'll take a look at that. I'll click on it now. See ya.